The silent ruins. The silence of Earth was deafening. It had been centuries since humanity had gone silent. The wind, once carrying the sounds of laughter, conversation, and bustling cities, now only whispered through broken windows and collapsed structures. In this forsaken world, the ruins stood like ancient sentinels, bearing witness to the fall of a civilization that had once ruled the stars. The Earth had aged, scars of time and devastation marking its surface, but the heart of the planet still pulsed with some faint, forgotten promise. Dr. Elias Gray stood at the viewing window of the sleek silver ship, staring out at the ruins below. His pale blue skin shimmered faintly in the artificial light of the ship as he gazed down at the Earth, his mind racing with thoughts. His colleagues, the other members of the research team, moved around him, collecting equipment and preparing for the task ahead. But Gray remained lost in thought, considering what humanity had been and what they could still become. His journey to this point had not been easy. For 20 years, Gray had studied humanity's disappearance, diving into records, archives, and ancient ruins in an attempt to understand the end of their civilization. He was driven by a belief that the true story had been buried, distorted by those who thought humanity's end was inevitable. The truth, he believed, was much more complicated. There was more to humanity's disappearance than the official records suggested. He had become a figure of mockery among his peers, the human hunter they called him. They laughed at his theories, dismissing them as wishful thinking. The records, after all, were clear. Humanity had been wiped out in a devastating war with the Void Collective, an alien race whose hunger for destruction had left no trace of human life. The last transmissions from Earth had spoken of catastrophic battles, burning cities, and eventual silence. The few survivors who had fled to other worlds had eventually disappeared as well, their ships lost to the void. It was a simple, tragic story, or so they thought. But Gray had never bought into that narrative. He had spent years gathering evidence, following leads that others had ignored, convinced that humanity's legacy was far more resilient than the world had been led to believe. He believed that the humans who had fought so fiercely had not perished but had hidden themselves away, waiting, evolving, and adapting in secret. His instincts told him that this desolate world was just the beginning of something much greater. The ship descended through the thick clouds, the eerie orange glow of the sky giving everything below an otherworldly quality. The ruined cities, once teeming with life, now seemed like the bones of a long-dead beast, their twisted steel and shattered glass catching the light in strange, haunting angles. As the ship approached its landing zone, Gray could feel the weight of history pressing on him. This was not just a mission of scientific discovery. It was a pilgrimage to uncover the truth of humanity's fate. When the ship's engines finally cut off and the soft landing was completed, the team moved quickly. The barren landscape stretched out before them, desolate and cold. Broken concrete and bent metal were scattered across what had once been the heart of a thriving city. Gray stood silently for a moment, taking in the scene. It was quiet, too quiet. There was an unnatural stillness in the air, as if the earth itself was holding its breath. But beneath the silence, there was a sense of waiting, as if something was about to awaken. "Let's get to work," Gray said finally, shaking himself from his reverie. His team quickly began unloading their equipment. They were all experts in their fields, skilled and efficient, each moving with purpose. Yet, despite their training and experience, Gray could sense an undercurrent of excitement and trepidation. This mission was different. This was not just an archaeological dig or a scientific expedition. They were standing at the threshold of something monumental. The ground beneath their feet, the ruins surrounding them, all whispered of secrets buried long ago. The scanners were the first to detect something unusual. At first, it was faint, just a blip on the radar. But as they set up their equipment and began to probe deeper, the readings grew stronger. A faint pulse of energy, hidden beneath the Earth's surface, seemed to be alive. It wasn't the type of energy one would expect from ancient machinery, long abandoned and decayed by time. This was something different, something active. "Something's down there," one of the team members muttered, his voice filled with disbelief. Gray rushed over to the scanner, his pulse quickening. The readings were unmistakable. Power. Active power. "This is impossible," Gray said under his breath, his mind racing. Nothing on Earth should have power after 1,000 years of dormancy. "Send the data to Director Stone," Gray ordered, his voice calm but with a sense of urgency, "and get the drilling equipment ready. We need to go deeper." The team quickly mobilized, setting up the equipment to begin drilling. Gray watched as the machine powered up, its hum reverberating through the quiet ruins. The drill began to cut through the layers of rock and debris, its deep, rhythmic sound breaking the silence of the world. As the drill burrowed deeper into the earth, Gray's thoughts raced. What was beneath them? What had been hidden for all these years? And most importantly, who, or what, had left this energy behind? Hours passed as they drilled deeper, the team working with a practiced efficiency. The deeper they went, the stronger the energy readings became. Gray couldn't help but feel a rising sense of anticipation. This was it. This was what he had been searching for. The moment that would prove his theories true. The moment when humanity's secret, hidden legacy would finally be revealed. At 1,000 meters, the drill began to slow, its blades cutting through harder rock. 2,000 meters, 3,000 meters. And then, suddenly, the drill hit something. The sensors pinged with an intense signal, a clear indication that they had reached something massive and metallic. Cutting through, the drill operator's voice crackled through the communicator. "This material doesn't match any of our databases. We've never seen anything like it before." "Keep going," Gray ordered, his heart pounding in his chest. "We're not stopping now." With one final push, the drill broke through the last layer of rock, and the team emerged into what could only be described as an underground cavern. The air was fresh and surprisingly cool, preserved by the chambers below the Earth's surface. The light from their torches illuminated the walls, which were covered in smooth, glowing panels. They flickered softly, as if reacting to their presence. Gray's breath caught in his throat as he took in the sight before him. This was no ordinary underground complex. The walls hummed with energy. The panels, though ancient, were clearly active, more than just old technology. They were waiting for something. One of Gray's team members reached out to touch one of the glowing panels, and as his fingers made contact, the room was bathed in light. Text appeared on the walls, ancient human writing that no one could understand. "Project Legacy. Awakening protocol initiated." Gray's heart raced. This was it. This was humanity's secret, hidden away for a millennium, waiting for the right moment to be discovered. "Director Stone, you need to see this," Gray said into his communicator, his voice steady but filled with awe. "I was right. They never died out. They were waiting." The facility hummed to life, and deep below, something vast and ancient stirred, beginning to awaken. The awakening. As the drill broke through the final layer of rock, a strange silence filled the underground chamber. The air felt cool and unnervingly still, as if it had been undisturbed for centuries. Gray and his team, each of them brimming with anticipation, stood at the threshold of an unprecedented discovery. The glowing walls flickered in response to their presence, casting eerie reflections across the cavern. Their footsteps echoed in the vast space, amplifying the sense of unease that gripped them. For a moment, none of them spoke. They were all struck by the surreal nature of what they had just uncovered, an underground facility, preserved in time. The walls were lined with glowing panels, some softly pulsating with light, others flickering erratically, as if trying to make sense of their sudden activation. There was no sign of life here, at least, not in the way they had expected. No living humans, no ancient machines whirring back to life, just the hum of distant energy that seemed to come from deep within the earth. "Is this real. One of Gray's assistants, Dr. Naomi Keller, whispered, her eyes wide with disbelief. This looks like it could be a kind of vault, a tomb, maybe a sanctuary. Gray didn't respond immediately. His mind raced as he walked deeper into the chamber, the soft glow of the panels lighting his path. He was a scientist, trained to approach the unknown with logic, but nothing about this place made sense. No records, no previous research, no surviving references indicated that humanity had ever built such an underground complex. "This isn't just a vault," Gray finally said, his voice low but filled with awe. "This is something much bigger. Humanity didn't just survive. They prepared for something. But what?" He reached out and touched one of the panels. His fingers tingled at the contact, and for a split second, he felt a strange pull, a surge of awareness, a connection to something vast, something ancient. The panel responded, glowing brighter as his soft hum filled the air. Suddenly, lines of code, symbols, and text appeared on the surface of the panel, flickering with energy. Project Legacy. Awakening Protocol initiated. The panel read in ancient human script. It was the same message they had seen earlier, but now it was clearer, more insistent, as though the chamber itself was awakening. Gray stepped back, his heart pounding. The message echoed in his mind. Awakening Protocol. It was a phrase that suggested something far more significant than a simple recovery of lost technology. Whatever was in this underground facility, whatever humanity had left behind, had been waiting for this moment. "Do we go further?" Naomi asked hesitantly, her voice filled with wonder and uncertainty. "This place, it feels alive. It feels like it's waiting for something." Before Gray could answer, a low hum vibrated through the floor, and the room seemed to come alive with activity. The glowing panels brightened, flickering in rapid succession, as though they were communicating with one another. It was as if the entire facility had sensed their presence and was now preparing to reveal itself. "We're not leaving yet," Gray said firmly, his eyes never leaving the illuminated panels. "This is it. This is what we've been searching for." The team followed Gray deeper into the facility, moving cautiously as they explored the sprawling chambers and passageways. The air, despite its coolness, felt thick with mystery. Every step they took seemed to pull them further into the heart of humanity's forgotten legacy. It was as though the very walls were beckoning them, urging them to uncover the secrets buried within. As they moved through the labyrinthine corridors, they began to uncover more signs of humanity's incredible foresight. The walls were lined with more panels, and scattered throughout the space were advanced, long-forgotten technologies, machines that defied the laws of physics, devices that seemed to bend time and space itself. Some of the devices hummed faintly, as if still functioning, their purpose unclear but undeniably powerful. "It's like a dream," Naomi whispered, her voice filled with awe. "How could something like this exist beneath our feet? How could it have been hidden for so long?" Gray's mind raced with questions. How had humanity managed to hide such a vast underground complex for 1,000 years? What had happened to the human race to make them abandon the surface, to retreat to such a place of secrecy? These questions gnawed at him, but his focus remained on one thing. What was humanity preparing for? And why had it been kept hidden for so long? "Look over here," another team member, Dr. Felix Ortiz, called out from the far end of the corridor. He had discovered something that drew Gray's attention immediately. It was a set of large cylindrical pods, each encased in a shimmering, transparent material. The pods appeared to be some kind of preservation chamber, but what they held inside was far more intriguing. As they approached the pods, Gray's heart skipped a beat. Inside each one, suspended in a clear liquid, floated human bodies. Humans who appeared to be in various stages of suspended animation. The bodies were perfectly preserved, their skin pale but unblemished, their features calm and serene. Some were fully formed, while others appeared to be in a state of growth, as if the bodies were still being cultivated, nurtured by the unknown technology that surrounded them. These bodies, they're human, Naomi said, her voice trembling with disbelief. "But they're not from our time. These look new." Gray nodded, his mind racing. "These aren't ancient bodies. They're being grown. These are the next generation. But why? What are they preparing for?" The answer, it seemed, lay just beyond the edge of their understanding. As Gray and his team continued to explore the vast underground facility, they came to a central chamber where a large holographic display flickered to life. It revealed a complex network of glowing points, each one representing the human mind stored in a quantum archive. The network was vast, unbelievably vast. The hologram identified it as the Human Consciousness Archive, a repository of preserved minds, waiting to be reawakened. The AI voice that had been guiding them earlier spoke once again, its tone calm yet filled with a quiet authority. Human Consciousness Archive status: active. Total preserved minds: 12.3 million. 12.3 million? Naomi asked incredulously. That's impossible. How could they have preserved that many minds? Gray's eyes widened. Humanity wasn't just hiding. They were preparing for something monumental. They stored their minds, preserved them, waiting for the day when they could be restored. Before Gray could process the full magnitude of this revelation, the facility's AI continued. Restoration sequence commencing for Legacy ID. Commander Emma Reed. A new pod lit up, and inside it, a woman's body began to glow with a soft, golden light. The liquid inside the pod shimmered, and tiny points of light began to swirl within it, as if transferring energy or consciousness into the body. The body of Commander Emma Reed stirred, her chest rising and falling with each breath. Slowly, her eyes opened. Gray took an involuntary step back. He had been prepared for many things, but this was something he could never have imagined. The woman in the pod sat up slowly, her movements fluid and graceful. She blinked, her bright blue eyes coming into focus. The air around her seemed to hum with energy, as if she was connected to something far greater than herself. She looked around, taking in the faces of Gray and his team, and then spoke in a voice that resonated with authority. "Welcome to Project Legacy," Commander Reed said, her tone calm but powerful. "I apologize for keeping our existence hidden for so long, but it was necessary for our plans to succeed." Gray's mind raced. This wasn't just a simple revival. This was something far deeper, something that humanity had prepared for over the course of millennia. This was the beginning of something far greater than any of them could have imagined. "Plans?" Gray asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "What plans?" Commander Reed's gaze hardened. "We weren't just hiding. We were evolving. And now, it's time to awaken." The legacy revealed. The underground chamber, bathed in the soft hum of energy, seemed to expand in size as the secrets of Project Legacy unfolded before them. The vastness of the facility, its seemingly endless corridors, and the advanced technology that hummed and pulsed with life were only the beginning. Gray's team stood in awe, their minds racing to grasp what they were witnessing. Humanity, hidden away for over 1,000 years, was now preparing to return. But to what end? And what had they become in all that time? Commander Reed's voice echoed through the chamber as she stood, fully awake and aware. Her movements were precise, her mind sharp, and yet there was a quiet sadness in her eyes, an understanding of the weight of what had transpired. She glanced over at Gray, whose eyes never left her, still processing the enormity of this moment. Project Legacy wasn't just a plan for survival, Reed said, her voice calm but filled with a somber understanding. It was our last chance to evolve beyond what we were before. Humanity was faced with extinction, again and again, from forces we didn't even fully understand. The Void Collective was only one part of the equation. The true threat was our own inability to adapt, to survive. Gray's heart pounded. He had suspected there was more to humanity's fall than the records indicated, but he had never imagined this. "So you didn't just hide away, you changed." Reed nodded, her expression hardening with resolve. We weren't just running from the Void Collective. We were running from ourselves, from the very nature that made us vulnerable. We had to evolve, to adapt to a new form of existence, to survive in ways we never could before. What you see here, she gestured to the thousands of pods, is the next step in humanity's evolution. Gray stood frozen. You're saying, you didn't just preserve your bodies, you transformed your minds. Reed met his gaze, her eyes glowing faintly with an inner light, a strange energy pulsing beneath her skin. Exactly. Our minds, our consciousness were preserved. And then we evolved. We learned to exist beyond the physical form, in the quantum realm. We became more than just flesh and blood. We became something different. Naomi, still processing the enormity of what she was hearing, took a step forward. You're talking about quantum consciousness. You mean you learned to exist across multiple dimensions simultaneously, to be both physical and energy. Reed smiled, as if it were the simplest thing in the world. Yes. And no, we didn't just exist across dimensions, Naomi. We became the bridge between them. The mind, once limited by the physical body, is now free to expand beyond space and time. We exist not just in our bodies, but in the quantum realm itself. Our consciousness is no longer confined to a single location. We can move through dimensions, adapt, evolve, and grow with every passing moment. The room seemed to vibrate with the weight of her words. Gray could feel his thoughts spinning as he tried to absorb the magnitude of what Reed was saying. Humanity, now existing in multiple dimensions at once, not just as beings of flesh, but as beings of pure consciousness, was a concept that defied everything he had ever known about life and reality. "Commander," Gray said, his voice steady but filled with disbelief, "what happened to the rest of humanity? The people who didn't make it here, who didn't survive this transformation?" Reed's expression softened, her voice dropping as she spoke. Most of them didn't make it. Some tried to fight, tried to hold on to what we were, but they didn't understand the magnitude of the transformation we had to undergo. They tried to fight the Void Collective the old way, using the same physical strength, the same tactics that had failed us before, and they lost. She paused for a long moment, her eyes distant as if recalling painful memories. But those of us who survived, we learned. We evolved. We preserved our minds, stored them in the quantum network, and waited for the day when we could come back, when we could wake up and take back what we lost. Gray's mind swirled with questions. So you're telling me you've been existing in the quantum realm, as pure consciousness, for 1,000 years? Yes, Reed replied. 1,000 years may seem like a long time, but in the quantum realm, it was but a moment. We spent those years learning, adapting, growing. Our consciousnesses expanded, untethered from the limitations of our bodies. We gained knowledge, power, abilities that were once beyond imagination. Abilities? Naomi asked, her voice trembling with curiosity. What kind of abilities? Reed's gaze sharpened, and a faint smile curled at the corners of her lips. The kind of abilities that will change everything. We can manipulate reality itself. We can shift between dimensions, interact with matter at the quantum level, and even shape the fabric of time. We are not bound by the laws of physics anymore. We have become the masters of both the physical world and the quantum realm. Gray's head reeled. The possibilities of such abilities were beyond comprehension. The implications were staggering. Humanity, once a species on the brink of annihilation, had transcended its limitations, evolving into something greater than it had ever been before. But as incredible as this was, it was only the beginning. "What do you need from us?" Gray asked, his voice steady, but filled with an unspoken question, one that he had not yet found the courage to ask. What price would humanity pay for this power? Reed's expression hardened again, her resolve clear. "We need you to understand. We need you to help us prepare. The Void Collective will be coming soon. They'll sense our return. And when they do, They will come for us. But this time, we won't be caught unprepared. This time, humanity will be ready to fight. Fight, Naomi echoed, her voice tinged with uncertainty. But you're not just humans anymore. What can we fight with, if we're something else? Reed's gaze locked onto Naomi's, her eyes glowing with quiet determination. We don't fight with force, Naomi. We don't fight with weapons or armies. We fight with our minds, with our consciousness. We fight by offering the Void Collective something they can't understand, a way out of their endless hunger. We fight by showing them what humanity has become. Gray took a deep breath, his mind racing to keep up with the enormity of what was happening. What do you mean? The Void Collective, they consume consciousness. They feed off entire civilizations. If we offer them something they can't understand, they will destroy us. Reed shook her head, her voice calm yet firm. No, they won't. We're not offering them just survival. We're offering them the answer to their eternal hunger. We are the cure to what ails them. We have learned how to exist in perfect balance between the physical and the quantum. They abandoned their physical form, but they lost their connection to the universe. They became a hollow shell, endlessly consuming other beings to fill that emptiness. We can show them how to fill the void within themselves, without consuming others. The room grew silent, the weight of her words settling over everyone like a heavy blanket. Gray felt a chill run down his spine. Humanity's transformation was not just about survival, it was about redemption, not only for humanity, but for an entire species. If they could show the Void Collective a new way of being, perhaps they could stop the cycle of destruction that had plagued the galaxy for so long. Commander, if we're offering them this, how do we know they'll accept? Naomi asked, her voice barely a whisper. Reed smiled again, her eyes glowing brighter. Because we've already faced the hunger. We've already been where they are. And now we are the ones who can lead them to the answers they seek. We are the ones who can show them that there is another way. The awakening of the Void Collective. The cavernous chamber around them seemed to hum with purpose as Commander Reed's words reverberated in the minds of Gray and his team. The gravity of the situation had shifted. It was no longer just about uncovering the past, it was about preparing for the future, a future in which humanity's survival was no longer a guarantee. It now rested on an entirely new paradigm of existence, one that defied all the natural laws they had once taken for granted. Reed's plan to confront the Void Collective had only begun to take shape in the minds of Gray and his team. What they had originally thought was a simple discovery, an ancient, hidden humanity preserved beneath the Earth's surface, was rapidly becoming something far more complex and world-altering. Gray stood at the center of the chamber, staring at the millions of preserved human minds stored in their quantum containers. They were waiting. The first of many pods to be opened had already revealed Commander Emma Reed. As the initial restoration was complete, Gray now realized that this was the first of many. Yet, with the energy in the air crackling with anticipation, there was a lingering fear. What will the rest of humanity become? Naomi asked, her voice filled with an uncertain wonder. She had seen Commander Reed's transformation. But what about the others? What about the world they would return to? Reed turned to face them, her expression thoughtful yet resolute. The question is not what we will become, she said, her eyes glowing faintly. The question is how we will make the galaxy see us. We were once a species bound by the limitations of flesh. Now, we are no longer confined. We exist on a level beyond the understanding of those who have yet to make this transformation. The air seemed to thrum as the energy around them intensified, and Gray's thoughts were interrupted by a strange, low hum that reverberated through the walls. It was subtle at first, almost imperceptible, but soon it became more pronounced. A chill ran down his spine. It felt as though the very fabric of reality was stretching, warping, responding to an incoming force. Director Stone to Gray. A voice crackled over the communicator, pulling Gray from his reverie. It was the stern voice of Director Stone, who had been monitoring their progress from the main command center. Gray, we've picked up unusual energy signatures approaching Earth. The Void Collective. They're on their way. The hairs on the back of Gray's neck stood up. The Void Collective had been humanity's greatest fear, the alien force that had decimated worlds before theirs. They consumed entire species, wiping out not just life, but the very essence of civilization. They fed on the energy of consciousness, leaving nothing but husks in their wake. "We need to accelerate the awakening process," Gray said, his voice now carrying the weight of urgency. "If they're coming, we must be ready. Humanity's survival depends on it." "We are ready," Reed responded, her voice calm but filled with an undeniable intensity. The transformation was never just about survival. It was about ensuring that we would be able to face whatever comes next. "We have evolved beyond what you can understand, Gray. And soon, all of humanity will stand together in this new form. When we are all awake, we will be more than just a species. We will be an unstoppable force." Gray nodded, his mind racing. As Reed spoke, he could sense the power emanating from her, a quiet yet immense force that seemed to hum through the very walls of the facility. He had always thought of humanity as fragile, bound by the limits of their biology. But now, in the presence of Commander Reed and the technology that surrounded them, he realized just how wrong he had been. Humanity had been preparing for something much greater than mere survival. "Let's begin the activation," Gray said, stepping forward. His heart pounded in anticipation. "If the Void Collective is really coming, we need all the minds we can awaken. We need to show them that humanity is no longer what it once was." The team moved quickly, setting the procedure into motion. A series of holographic interfaces lit up, displaying the status of each pod. Thousands of bodies floated in their suspended states, each one waiting for its consciousness to be restored. Gray's fingers flew over the console, coordinating the awakening process. As the first of the remaining pods began to glow, an electric charge filled the room. The liquid inside the pods shimmered, and the human forms inside slowly stirred. The energy around them intensified, and Gray could feel his pulse quicken as he watched in awe. One by one, the pods activated. The figures inside shifted, their eyes flickering open. The room was filled with a growing sense of power as more and more of humanity's minds were restored. There was no hesitation, no weakness in their movements. The bodies, though human, now radiated an energy far beyond what had once been possible. They were not merely revived, they were reborn. As Commander Reeves stood among the awakened, she began to speak, her voice carrying across the now bustling chamber. "This is what humanity has become. We are no longer bound by the limitations of flesh. We exist as beings of both energy and matter. We have transcended what we were before, and now, it is time to show the galaxy who we truly are." Gray watched in awe as each of the newly awakened humans moved with fluid grace, their bodies and minds perfectly synchronized. There was no doubt in his mind now. Humanity had become something entirely new, something that the galaxy had never seen before. But the awakening was not yet complete. Thousands of humans remained in their pods, waiting for the moment when they, too, would rise and join the growing force of awakened humanity. "Gray," Director Stone's voice came again over the communicator, her tone grave. "We've just received confirmation. The Void Collective's fleet is nearing the outer reaches of the solar system. They're on their way. They'll be here in hours." Gray's heart raced. There was no more time to waste. The next phase of humanity's awakening had to happen now. "Initiate the final sequence," Gray said, his voice steady, but filled with a sense of urgency. "Wake up the remaining pods. We don't have much time." As the final sequence was initiated, the hum of energy around them grew louder, resonating through the facility. The remaining pods lit up, and one by one, the figures inside began to stir. Gray could feel the presence of the awakened humans around him. There was no fear in their eyes. There was no uncertainty. They were ready. But as the last of the pods activated and the final human was brought to life, Reed turned to face Gray, her eyes glowing with a quiet intensity. "It's time. Humanity has risen. Gray looked out at the vast chamber, now filled with the energy of thousands of awakened humans. They were no longer just survivors. They were a new force, a new beginning. And they were ready for whatever came next. The first encounter. The vast, quantum-powered facility hummed with a new kind of energy as the final sequences of humanity's awakening were completed. The once silent, dark chamber was now alive, filled with the glowing figures of thousands of humans, each one radiating a quiet, powerful energy. They were no longer the fragile species that had once lived on Earth. They were something new, something far beyond what any of them had expected. Dr. Gray stood at the center of it all, his heart racing as the sheer magnitude of their transformation began to settle in. The weight of the moment was undeniable. They had awoken a new humanity, but now it was time to face the enemy that had once almost wiped them from existence. Commander Reed stood beside him, her eyes glowing brighter now, reflecting the quantum power that surged through her being. The transformation had been seamless. No signs of weakness, no signs of the passage of time. Every human mind that had been restored was now in perfect harmony with their new form, able to shift between the physical and quantum realms, to manipulate reality itself. Gray couldn't help but marvel at the sheer power emanating from Reed. She was their leader now, the one who would guide them through what was about to come. He had once thought of humanity as fragile and mortal, but now, after witnessing what had been accomplished, he realized that they had only just begun to tap into their true potential. "Commander," Gray said, his voice filled with awe and apprehension, "we've done it. We've awakened humanity. But the Void Collective, they're almost here. We don't know what to expect." Reed turned to face him, her expression one of quiet resolve. "The Void Collective is unlike any force we've ever encountered, but they are bound by their hunger, their need to consume consciousness. That is their greatest weakness." Gray frowned, trying to process what she had just said. "Their weakness? You're saying we can defeat them by offering them something they can't resist. But how can we trust them? They've destroyed entire civilizations without hesitation." Reed's eyes hardened. "I never said we would defeat them. But we will show them a way to evolve, a way to stop their endless hunger. If we offer them the knowledge we've gained in the quantum realm, if we show them how to exist in balance, they may understand. If they refuse, then we will be forced to act." The room fell silent for a moment. Every human present seemed to be connected in a way that Gray could not comprehend, their minds intertwined with the energy around them. There was no fear, no hesitation, only the quiet, focused power of a species that had transcended its physical limits. "Then it's time," Reed said finally, her voice calm but filled with determination. "We need to prepare for their arrival. We can't afford to be unready." Gray nodded, feeling a deep sense of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He had always been the skeptic, the one who believed humanity was fragile, that survival was a matter of luck. But now, standing in this quantum-charged facility, surrounded by humanity's finest minds and its most powerful beings, he knew that humanity had become something far more extraordinary. They were ready. The Void Collective's fleet arrived in the outer reaches of the solar system much faster than Gray or Reed had anticipated. Their ships appeared on the scanners like shadows moving through the stars, massive dark entities that consumed everything in their path. They moved silently, as though they knew that the universe itself was waiting for their arrival. The fleet was vast, with hundreds of ships capable of consuming the minds of entire planets in a matter of hours. "Director Stone, we're detecting massive energy signatures from their ships," one of the technicians said, her voice filled with urgency. "They're preparing to engage. They've already targeted our defenses. It looks like they're preparing for a direct assault." Gray exchanged a glance with Reed. It was time. "We need to send our message," Reed said, her voice calm, though there was a steely edge to it. "Now." The chamber around them flickered as the quantum interface activated, displaying a holographic projection of the galaxy. The fleet of the Void Collective was closing in. The time to act had come. "Open the channel," Gray said, his voice firm. "It's time we showed them what humanity has become." The communication interface glowed brightly as Reed stood at the center, her figure emanating an almost blinding light as she connected her consciousness to the quantum network. Every awakened human in the facility joined her, their minds in perfect harmony. Together, they accessed the quantum channels that would allow them to send their message. Reed raised her hands, her eyes glowing with the energy flowing through her. The quantum network hummed with power as her voice resonated through the space, amplified by the collective consciousness of humanity. "We are humanity," she said, her voice carrying across the void. "And we offer you a choice. We know what you are, Void Collective. We know your hunger, your endless need to consume. We have been where you are. We have learned what you have forgotten. We have found balance. We offer you a way to exist without the need to consume others. A way to fill the emptiness within you, without destruction." Her voice echoed across the cosmos, reaching the ships of the Void Collective as they entered the solar system. The dark, cold ships seemed to pause, their energy fields shifting as they processed the message. The vast fleet that had destroyed civilizations in the past now found themselves confronted with something they had never encountered before. "We are not your enemies," Reed continued, her voice unwavering. "We are your salvation. We offer you the knowledge of the quantum realms. We offer you the key to understanding existence without hunger, without the need for consumption." For a moment, the void of space seemed to hold its breath. The silence was deafening. And then, without warning, the Void Collective responded. A deep, hollow voice crackled through the communication channel, ancient and cold. "Humanity, you dare offer us a cure? You who were once weak, who fell before us. You offer us a way to evolve. We are beyond such petty things. You are no different from those who came before. You will bow before us, or we will consume you as we have consumed all." Reed's expression remained unflinching. "You are wrong," she said, her voice clear and confident. "You may have consumed civilizations, but you are still bound by your hunger. You are not gods. You are creatures trapped in a cycle of destruction. We have broken that cycle, and we can help you break it too." Another silence fell over the channel as the Void Collective seemed to consider her words. The ships paused in their approach, the darkness of their energy fields flickering. Gray held his breath, watching the monitors as the fleet continued to linger just outside the range of Earth's defenses. Would they listen? Would they accept humanity's offer? Or would they destroy them all? The Void Collective's answer came at last. "We will not bow," the voice boomed. "We are the end of all things. We will not be swayed by your words." With that, the fleet surged forward, their weapons charging. Humanity's first encounter with the Void Collective was not to be a peaceful one. Reed stood firm, her expression filled with a quiet strength. "Then we fight, on our terms," she said. "But this will not be a war of destruction. It will be a war of ideas, and we will show them why humanity is no longer a species to be consumed." The battle for survival had begun, but this time, humanity was not fighting alone. They had become something greater, something that the Void Collective could never have anticipated. And the galaxy would never be the same again.